यदि तपाईले अहिलेसम्म यस च्यानललाई सब्स्क्राइब गर्नुभएको छैन भने प्लिज सब्स्क्राइब गरिदिनु होला र साइडको घन्टीलाई पनि एकचोटी बजाइदिनु होला।
Namaste. Today we are here at Hariharpur Gadhi in Sindhuli district. It's a very renowned and famous fort for the preservation, recording and enhancement of Nepalese history, culture and heritage. We are here today at the evening through the Samajkoawaj.com television. In fact, it is a contingency palace, castle of the Saint King of Makwanpur kingdom. And the Saint King, they built it. The architecture is similar to the Mughal empires of India. Yes, of course, the Indian forts and castles, they are very big. They are in the plain areas. It is built on the mountain hilltop. So, but it's a very well built. It builds with the military values. All the firing bays, especially it's built for the cannons firing. And look at here, there is a emergency water tank. The palace here, the ruined palace, it was for the palace. And there are some other small rooms, houses for the servant and the special secretaries here. And there is a that is called Gadhi everywhere. At any food, you'll find Gadhi. It is a must. Almost it is a must. So if we talk about the Sen King dynasty, it starts from India to the Palpa, Butul. The Mani Mukunda Sen was the first king in the Sen dynasty in Nepal. Then after, his son Lohang Sen, he was a brave prince. He started unification, I could say, campaign from Narayani to eastwards up to Tista River, up to Jaldhaka. It is near the Bangladesh, Jaldhaka. So, after the death of his father, King Mukunda Sen, he declares as a king of this area, and he made his kingdom in Makwanpur and called Makwanpur state. After the Lohang Sen, Raghav Narendra Sen, Harihar Indra Sen, Subha Sen, Hemkarna Sen, Digbandhan Sen were the kings, ruler of this kingdom. And Harihar Indra Sen built this fort and named after him as Hariharpur Gadhi. And in fact, Hemkarna Sen, King Hemkarna Sen of Makwanpur was the father-in-law of King Prithvinarayan Saha. And King Prithvinarayan Saha, he fought the unification battle with his brother-in-law Digbandhan Sen, the last king of Makwanpur. And when he was defeated in 1819 at Makwanpur Palace, the last king, Digbandhan Sen, his minister Kanak Singh Basnyat and his families, royal families, they fled from Makwanpur to this place, this fort, as it's a palace. It's a palace. So he stayed here for a month. Contingency palace. So for a month, and then after a month of the capturing the Makwanpur capital, the palace, the Gorkhalis army, they marched over here and they encircle the areas. And the last king, Digbandhan, was of the support of many hundred troops, almost 1,000 troops, I have read somewhere in these areas. There was a barrack here. So while the Gorkha armies arrived here, so they had big fight here. And King Digbandhan himself was leading the battle. Unfortunately, more than 500 Sin army they killed here. And King Digbandan Sen and his minister Kanak Singh Bania had to flee from the back door of this fort, and they went to Khunaghat. And it was on 4th October of uh, uh, 4th October 1762. 4th October 1762. So, so uh, this is the history of unification campaign. Then after, it's important for the Anglo-Nepal War, very important. Why Anglo-Nepal War happened is obvious. That was for the money, that was for the wealth. So the Britishers, they wanted to march up to Mongolia, Peking, via Lhasa, Tibet, and they were willing to get access via Sikkim, Nathula Pass. Then after Kerung and Kuti axis, then finally to Kalapani, Limpuadura axis. But all passes, all axes were controlled, captured by the Nepalese. So that was impossible. Even the Sikkim was under the almost colony of Nepal. So Nepali did not allow to cross that Nathula Pass from Sikkim. So that was a very hard time for the Britishers. So as per the East India Company's strategies, they had acknowledged as Nepal was the hurdle for the capturing Asia. That means via Nepal. That means that was China. So from Sikkim, it was the shortest route to travel, to attack, to assault, to make offensive against Tibet. First Tibet, then Peking. So they were planning to make artificial arguments about the plain line of the Tarais. So Nepal tried to make some negotiation, diplomatic means, but that failed. All of a sudden, the British East India Company declared war against Nepal on 1st November 1814. So it was a big challenge for Nepal. Very surprising. So, how at any cost, Nepal had to be prepared for the war to defend your sovereignty, our sovereignty. So, Nepal knew about the British pattern of operation. British were launching attack via many axes, namely Bijaypur, Dharan, Makwanpur, Hariharpur. It was one axis. The next was from Butol, Palpa axis. The next was from Kumaon axis. The another was from Nalapani, Dehradun axis. The next was from Nahan, Sirmaur axis. The final was from Rajgarh, Malau, the Gadwal axis. So, it was the main front, very important front for them because it was very close by to capital Kathmandu and very shortest route. So, the thrust of the troops, the thrust of the power was sent from this area, and the Major General who was leading the war in this front was Major General Bennett Marley. He was very popular in other battles within the India, even in the African side. So he was detailed for the commander of this sector. So Anglo-Nepal War concluded in two phases. In the first phases, from Nepalese side, Colonel Ranabir Singh Thapa, Colonel Ranabir Singh Thapa, later Major General, he was the commander at Makwanpur Palace, and he deployed the defensive position at Somesar Fort Chittaun, Upardang Fort Chittaun, Sinchang Fort Tanahu, Kandrang Fort, Chitaun, Chisapani Fort, Makwanpur itself, Fort Makwanpur, Hariharpur Fort, Sindhuli Fort, and so on, so on. In the plain areas, Samanpur, Bara Fort, Parsa Fort, and so on, so many. So, on the other side, Major General Bennett Marley, he also marched his troops from several axes, mainly from the plain areas, from presently Bara, Parsa and Rautahot. He wanted to march via mainly from Bagmati river axis, and Makwanpur axis. So, their main aim was to capture this fort and Makwanpur fort, first phase. So, they wanted to induct more troops here, and in the second phase, they were trying to capture Kartipur. So, in the first phase, Colonel Ranabir Singh Thapa, he fought very bravely. His troops. So many Britishers, they were killed at the Battle of Samanpur, at the Battle of Baragadi, at the Battle of Parsagadi, and so on, at many places. What happens? Very interestingly, the first record, Major General Bennett Marley, he placed from the war. He deserted from the war. Look at the division commander who was leading 12,000 troops. He flees. It's the old record. So Gorkhali troops, Nepalese troops, their bravery, it counts. It's remarkable. And in the first phase, no war, no battle took place at this fort. No battle took place at the Makwanpur fort. From Tista to Kali River, Nepalese were the victor. Unfortunately, from Mahakali onwards, from western side, far western side, up to Satluj River, everywhere, Nepalese lost the battles, war. So finally, Nepal had to made an agreement between Badakaji, Amar Singh Thapa, and Major General Octoloni at Malaung Fort. From the next day, Nepal government had to back it, had to fall back from Satluj to Mahakali River, and home bank of Mahakali River was our international boundary. So it was big loss. And up to this time, Britishers were even not happy. So they wanted to capture Kathmandu. They wanted to give pressure to sign a treaty. So again, Britishers, they made a plan to launch an attack. And the commander was detailed, Major General Octoloni. Major General Octoloni, he was the only victor beyond the Mahakali River. He fought a battle against Badakaji Amar Singh Thapa. Bhakti Thapa, the 73 years old young man, he fought against him. Unfortunately, Bhakti Thapa, he died at the age of 73. And that victor hero, he was detailed for the next phase. And the Britishers, they launched only one attack via Makwanpur Hariharpur axis under the command of Major General Octoloni. And it was a multi-directional attacks. And mainly, he detailed Colonel Kelly and Colonel Holler from this axis. And from Makwanpur axis, he was in behind. So the advance was going on. The small contacts between Nepalese army and the British army were made, and the Nepalese army could not resist the Britishers in the plain areas in Tarai, like Samanpur, Bara, and Parsa areas. So the Britishers, they were able to push us back, and Major General Octoloni and his other subordinate were marching up to Harnamadi of in Karra river of Metoda. Before that, Colonel Kelly and Colonel Holler, they were able to capture this fort because the British knew that for the propaganda, for the provocation, finally the bribing, they knew, they learned in the beyond the part of Mahakali river up to Satluj river. They bribed to Nepalese people, the newly occupied states. So many Nepalese were bribed, and they discloses the attack plan, the secrecy. Finally, that was very useful for the Britishers, and they could stand on victory. That was beyond the Mahakali river. Similar tactics they used in Hariharpur Gadhi Axis battle. When they were marching from the Indian side up to the, Rauthad or the areas, they could caught somebody's who were the Halkaras, the local people, and some government people. They bribed them, and they secretly, we Nepalese people, we guided them secretly in the night time, and the Britishers, they arrived nearby the fort. Surprisingly, it was very big surprise for the Nepalese troops. Here, Kazi Ranajor Singh Thapa, the son of Bada Kazi Amar Singh Thapa, he was detailed as this fort's commander with almost 600 troops. And all of a sudden, Britishers were here about 2 brigades under the command of Colonel Kelly and Colonel Holler. They launched attack. They encircled all the areas. Nepalese, they fought from their best. Almost 450 Nepalese killed here within 600. So far, history says like that. And Kazi Ranajor Singh Thapa, he withdrew from here to Sindhuli Gadhi fort, where his father was there, the Bada Kazi. So he linked up over there. Finally, the Britishers, they captured this fort and they made ruin here. Even the Kalika temple or the Gode, many temples, they made ruin here. They chopped out. And after this incident, when we lost the battle over here, the Nepalese government was under pressure. So they decided to sign a treaty. Even the contact in Makwanpur fort was not met. The Britishers were in Harnamadi yet, just they were trying to fire some cannons from there. The major battle never fought over there. And from the loss of this fort, after the loss of this fort, losing of this fort, Nepalese made a proposal, and Nepal government was ready to sign on the treaty. So the British troops left this area, this fort, on 1st March 1815, and they marched towards the Makwanpur fort, and this fort was bagged as very ruined. Finally, Nepal government signed on Sukoli Treaty as per the British desire. So, this fort, Hariharpur Gadhi, it gets very important, very valuable history, remarkable position in the history of Nepal, in the military history of Nepal, in the political history of Nepal. So, it should be marked as a exemplary fort which has been built in proper manner with the military values. The first thing. The second is, it should be as a sample for the making new forts on the days to come. And it should be as a museum for the war history, the cultural history, the political history. And I hope it's a Sen history. Sen kingdom, it was within the Nepal, fragmented Nepal. So let's make joint effort by the local government, Nepalese army, the fort expert, finally the central government. It's our history. It's our the place where we lost several hundred lives over here, where we were forced to sign on Treaty of Sugauli. So that in this regard, I salute to those brave soldiers, Nepalese soldiers, who lost their life over here. They were really brave soldiers. The Nepal, we Nepalese, we are here. We are talking about sovereignty because of our ancestors, their blood, their dedication, their love to the nation. Finally, again, I salute our ancestor who died from the Nepalese army. I salute, I respect this area, this sport. Thank you very much.
Samajkoawaj.com